Discover your roots with the personalized genealogy consultation. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. Help me help you discover your roots. As a Black Native American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. And during the one-on-one meeting, you're going to learn how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. I'm going to teach you how to connect with your ancestral tribe, and I'll show you the steps that I went through to gain tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
I see dead people. Hey, monster on the beat, ho, Debo, any rap nigga, he a free throw, man down, call her Amber Lambs, tell him breathe, bro, nail a nigga to the cross, he walk around like Tizo. What's up with these jabroni ass niggas trying to see Compton? The industry can hate me, fuck them all and they mama. How many options you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna pass on this body, I'm John Stockton. Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up to score with him. Walking down whole time, I know he got some hoe in him. Pole on him, extort shit, bully the flow on him. Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs, and party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baka got a weird case, why is he around? Certified lover boys, certified pedophiles. Wop, 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 wop. That fuck him up. Wop, 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 wop. I'ma do my stuff. Why you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us, they not like us, they not like us. You think the Bay gon' let you disrespect Pop, nigga? I think that Oakland show gon' be your last stop, nigga. They cold foul, I don't know why you still pretending. What is the owl? Bird niggas and bird bitches, go. The audience not dumb, shape the stories how you want. Hey Drake, they're not slow. Rabbit hole is still deep, I can go further, I promise. Ain't that something? P-Rest stands for bitchin', you Malibu most wanted. Ain't no law boy, you ball boy, fish Gatorade or something. Since 2009, I had this bitch jumping. You niggas will get a wedgie, be flipped over your boxes, or over your foe. The other vaginal option, pussy. Nigga better straighten they posture. Got favorites all up in content. Might write this with a doctor. Tell a pop star quit hiding. Fuck a caption, won't action. No accident, I'm hands on. He fuck around, get polished. Fucked on Wayne Grow, he was in jail. That's conniving. Then get his face tatted like a bitch apologizing. I'm glad D Rose came home, y'all didn't deserve him neither. From Alondra down to Central, nigga better not speak on Serena. And your homeboy needs subpoena. That predator moving flocks. That name gotta be registered and placed on neighborhood watch. I lean on you niggas like another line of walk. Yeah, it's all eyes on me and I'ma send it up the pot. Ay, put the road label on me, I'ma get them dropped. Ay, sweet chin music and I won't pass the ox. Ay, how many stocks do I really have in stock? Ay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5. Ay, devil is a lie, he is 69 God. Ay, freaky ass niggas need to stay their ass inside. Ay, roll their ass up like a fresh pack of Zod. Ay, city is back up, it's a must, we outside. Ay. They not like us, they not like us, they not like us. They not like us, they not like us, they not like us. Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homie still double down, calling us some slaves. Atlanta was the mecca, building railroads and trains. Bear with me for a second, let me put y'all on game. The settlers was using town folk to make them richer. Fast forward 2024, you got the same agenda. You run to Atlanta when you need a check balance. Let me break it down for you, this the real nigga challenge. You caught Future when you didn't see the club. Hey, what? Lil' baby help you get your lingo up. What? 21 get your first street cred. Thug make you feel like you a slime in your head. Hey, what? Quavo said you can be from Northside. What? 2 Chainz say you good, but he lied. You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. No, you not a colleague, you a fucking colonizer. The family matter and the truth of the matter. Here was God's plan to show y'all the liar. He a fan, he a fan, he a fan. He a fan, he a fan, he a freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. Let me hear you say OV-ho. OV-ho. Say OV-ho. OV-ho. Then step this way, step that way. Then step this way, step that way. Are you my friend? Are we locked in? then step this way, step that way, then step this way, step that way.
At House of Feeder Body Care and Spa for 30 days. As you can see, it's very instant. You can see now it's peeling off, and this is December period. So your instant body wash, your whitening instant body wash, it's very, very effective. Just for 30K, result instant at House of Feeder Body Care and Spa. As you can see. Can you see this? Can you see this? Can you see this? It's so clean up now. Just from House of Feeder Body Care and Spa, we get this done for you. At 30,000 naira. Can you see? Dead cells clean up immediately and it gets.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I know you've seen this video of this Nigerian woman getting this quote unquote instant whitening body wash at a spa, and I just decided to do a really quick reaction to this video and also give my opinion and also select a few comments on social media, Twitter and Instagram, and then let you guys go through it and also just talk about this video in general. So here is this woman. Being given this service, the first thing that struck me is that she's in a bath with some sort of chemical. The second thing is that it was actually being administered by a fellow Nigerian woman. Now, before we get to the bath,
asking to come up and I explained to him, hey, we're playing a replay, but if you want to chop it up with Mike, we can do our own special stream. Come on. I'll give you the time of day. I will share my platform with you, and let you get whatever you got to get off your chest. So we have a man here. I guess his username is the African Rattle. Is there like maybe a shorter name you want us to call you by, or?
I'm Kevin. Can use Kevin.
Kevin. Okay, Kevin. And Kevin, give me a little introduction to yourself. That stream that you were watching, that replay, was that the first broadcast you've ever seen of mine, or have you been watching Mike TV for a while?
No, I've been seeing notifications. But yeah, you've been appearing on my timeline, and you clearly have a stick up your butt about Africans. So I needed to address you because I see you speaking to some West Africans, because West Africans are the ones who tend to leave Africa a lot, and a lot of them are not very articulate. They can't defend themselves,
Hold
so you
on.
bully them easily.
You're breaking up a little bit. What were you saying about West Africans?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's not as clear as it should be. It's a bit muffled. Before you were saying I was bullying West Africans, you were saying something else about them. What was it about West Africans?
It's mostly them that tend to leave the continent a lot.
Oh, you're saying most of the Africans that flee come from the west side of the continent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. And then you were saying something about the West Africans call in to speak to Mike a lot, and you don't think that they are able to defend themselves or something, right?
Yeah. Okay. Their arguments are weak. They don't seem to be able to articulate themselves very well. So I kind of thought I would speak up for them a bit.
So you think that out of all the Africans that I spoke to, you'll be the one who can properly give me a good challenge?
No, it's not about a challenge or anything. It's just setting something straight and being blunt about it.
Interesting. Well, before we get into exactly what you want to set straight, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kevin. What country are you currently in, and what country are you from originally?
I'm in Kenya, born and raised.
So you currently live in Kenya?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. And you've lived in Kenya all your life?
Yes, I've moved around a lot because I'm a businessman, but in terms of just selling, but I've never left Kenya as in permanently. I've always been in Kenya.
Okay. And again, I'm going to give you the floor to bring up whatever you want to set the record straight on. But just to give us an introduction to yourself in the shortest amount of time possible, we typically ask a couple questions of an African to kind of pick their brain. First question: what's your general sentiment towards Black Americans?
I never really paid attention to them much, apart from the media stuff that I saw. But then with social media now, that's big. So people get to know each other. The world is smaller, so you get to pick a lot of things. And the general sentiment basically is that you guys think we don't like you or something, which is weird. But my sentiment is like, you guys are narcissistic because America is a narcissist country. Americans generally are narcissists. So you kind of get caught up in that web because you're Americans also. But you guys like to act like you're not, like you're the victims, but you're just Americans, just like the white ones.
Okay, hold on. I'm a little bit confused. On the one hand, you said you don't really ever think of Black Americans. Then you went on to say you think we're narcissistic and we think we're victims.
I said I never used to think about you guys at all because all I saw was the media stuff, like the music and stuff like that. But with social media now, that everything is coming up, like the world is coming smaller. So I get to see some conversations happen between Africans and Black Americans. And the way I think about you is you're just Americans. You're just Americans in black skin. You're narcissists. You think about everything is supposed to be about yourselves, but you play the victim at the same time. So it's kind of weird.
Okay, so you're saying that you only knew of us by way of media, and through the advent of social media, you've seen some interactions between us and Africans, and social media tells you that we're narcissistic victims.
That's just how I see it.
Okay, and then before social media, when you were just seeing regular media about Black Americans, what was your sentiment towards us? Was it positive or negative?
it was so because okay, okay, I didn't like the music because I thought it was garbage. To be honest, it was just trashy. But also there were some good shows that portrayed you in a good light. I used to watch. There were some sitcoms that were nice, so it was like 50-50. It wasn't like I wasn't skewed in any side.
When you say the music was trashy, there's many genres of music that foundational Black Americans have created. Are you talking about a specific genre of our music, or are you talking about our music as a whole?
I pay for therapy because my thoughts tear me. They keep on dragging me. I pay for tips, they scatter me. I cannot barely sleep, but even I cannot hold on. Without you inside of me, I never knew this pain. Take the ones I love away from me. I wanna see cats bad, why can't someone call me? I gotta shoot out on my sleeve.
Hip hop, which is the one people know of, so my generation. So I'm talking about hip hop.
So you think hip hop in general is trashy, or that hip hop has some trashy elements?
The ones I saw, the ones I grew up seeing, is what it was just trash. It was just gangsters and whores and that stuff that people here don't want to see, pastors want to ban, and parents don't want to see. It was just trashy.
Okay, I see. So you see our media, and for the most part, you think it's trashy. You see us on social media, you think we're narcissistic victims. Someone in the audience wants to know, how old are you?
31.
Okay, 31, for sure. Well, you have the floor. Let us know, what you want to quote unquote set the record straight about. I think it is interesting though that you were on another one of my broadcasts and you admit that I'm in your algorithm, I'm in your notifications, which means that this type of content is something that you frequently watch. So for someone who claims to not really care about Black Americans, you sure do watch a lot of Black American content for one reason or another, right?
I don't think you're listening. I don't think you're comprehending. I said, yes, I do listen to. There's a channel I follow because I follow these conversations about, like Jubilee. Jubilee is a channel where I see conversations like this. So your channel popped up where I saw some thumbnails. You talking about Africans in a very derogatory way. Look at even this thumbnail you put here. I don't look like this guy. You're trying to portray me as an angry African. I'm pretty sure I'm more light-skinned than you.
Does that man look angry?
Yeah, he looks sad and like he hasn't had food for 15 years.
Well, damn, hey, you're being much harsher on the image than I thought it was. I mean, I just looked up a generic photo of a Kenyan man, and that's what popped up. So you're saying that you're a Kenyan man who's more light-skinned than me. How's that happen? Are you like half Dutch or half French?
You see,
is it cake soap? Is it bleach or?
Africa, see, this is your ignorance showing. Africa is like the black factory.
Sir, that's not my ignorant showing. It is a historical fact that Africans across the continent use bleach and cake soap to lighten up their pigmentation because they're so insecure of their black skin. So for you to be a Kenyan man born and raised claiming to have fairer skin than I, and I have European DNA in me, then God damn it, is this a natural lighter complexion, or have you been rubbing on a hell of a lot of bleach, sir? I've never seen a light-skinned Kenyan, so I'm honestly just curious.
Well, you need to travel, bro. That's all I can say. I can't cater to your ignorance.
So you're telling me you're lighter than me naturally with no bleach?
I'm not saying I'm lighter than you. I'm saying
no. You clearly you cannot comprehend. You clearly said that you are lighter than me. Everybody heard it. You said you're probably lighter than me. If that's a photo of me to the left, and you're saying you're lighter than me, and you're a Kenyan man born and raised, I'm just confused by that, sir. I'm just confused. So again, is your mother Kenyan?
Yes, I'm a Kenyan. Through and through.
And your father's Kenyan?
Yes.
And are you darker than me or are you lighter than me?
I'm probably the same shade as you. in this picture. If this is you
Oh
on the
my
left,
gosh, good Lord. We got a lion ass Africans on the line. First, he's probably lighter than me. Now he is the same shade as me. Sir, if you've been bleaching, just say so.
I wonder if he know that I know he's lying right now. Oh, you got the new Margellas? That's what's up. That's what's up. I see you. That's your BMW? That's nice. That's your girl? Golly. Okay, I see you. But I just want to know one thing. You ready? Why the fuck you lying?
And of course, it's the African going to colorism. It's the African going to complexion. It's the African claiming that we're narcissistic victims and our culture is trash. But he omits, he retracts from the record that you Kenyans have a real strange issue with bleaching your skin.
They say beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, but today beauty is no longer a choice for the beholder to make. Women have now taken matters into their own hands with a perception that men are more inclined to lighter women. More and more women are opting for fairer, glowy and lighter skin.
Yeah.
According to Dr. Benani Rua, a dermatologist at the Avane Dermatology Center, there is a difference between bleaching and skin lightening.
Basically, the bleaching is a term that a lot of ladies, they want to have a fairer skin, a clearer skin. But then they find themselves dealing with darker areas in the body. The lightening of the skin, it can be a medical process. We use a lot of technique. We use a laser, the ionization, we use creams, we use supplements, we use injections. And this is to promote the skin to be lighter from within.
To appease the society, family, friends, and most importantly, oneself, more women are going to every length to ensure their skin is lightened no matter the cost. Many opt for products sold in the black market without a thought to the side.
So y'all go into the black market to get bleached to lighten your skin up in the hopes of looking like me, but I digress.
Effects.
Thickness of the skin, the hyperpigmentation, which are darker spots everywhere in the body, darker than the normal color of the skin. It can goes up to, sometimes the skin is burned because of the product. And as I told, it's very difficult to say.
All right, guys, he's cammed up. Go ahead and let him know, chat. Is he lighter than me or is he darker than me? Since first he claimed he was lighter, then he claimed he's the same. Go ahead and let him know, chat. Let him know. I can't be non-biased since we're talking about my complexion after all. Yes, the hairline says it all. We're not going to roast him about his hairline. Stick on tablet, guys. The color of his skin. Yes, he's brown. Definitely brown. Yes. Hey, what it was is he was just insecure as fuck that I used this image for the Kenyan man. He said, I'm not that dark. Hold on. He said, I'm like half a shade lighter. He said, I'm about half a shade lighter. Yeah, y'all. Yeah, he's brown. Yeah. That ain't it. Yeah. Sorry, sir. The chat says that I am lighter than you. Not that it's a competition, but god damn it, you made it one. You came up here and made it a competition. Who's lighter than the other? God damn it, y'all got some internalized inferiority. But Kevin, can you let us know what you wrote in the private chat?
I said, okay, you're trying to veer away from the topic.
Sir, just repeat verbatim what you said in the private chat. It's not hard.
What did I say? I said a lot of things. I said I don't have all night. What's up with the thumbnail?
God damn it! What's the last thing you wrote in the private? Come on now, come on. You 31 years old.
Hey clown, stick to the topic. That's what I said.
You said to me, coincidentally, when I was playing the video about how Kenyans have an issue bleaching, you say in the private chat, hey clown, stick to the topic, but you're the one who brought up skin complexion, were you not?
That was
Were you the one that brought up skin tone? Were you the one that brought up skin tone? Oh, okay. So you brought up skin complexion, and when I started roasting y'all Africans for bleaching, you said, oh, hey, clown, stick to the topic. Yeah, nice way to try to deflect. But, sir, let's not get caught in the weeds. We know, although you may be a shade lighter than the man on the right of the thumbnail, you're still a darker African. I'm sorry. All right, mic check, mic check, mic check. Guys, we're going to pause the replay for just a moment. I got a guest backstage we're going to bring up right after your boy Mike has his morning joints. But I just have to quickly acknowledge the homie in the chat, Deshaun. Deshaun, you know what's crazy, Deshaun? You know what's absolutely baffling, Deshaun? You're damn near a very, very similar complexion than that Kenyan dude. And I only say that to say this. You're richly melanated. He's richly melanated. You're a Black American. He's a Kenyan. There's only one of the two that are insecure about their complexion. There's only one out of the two who's going to get on a panel and try to say, oh, I'm probably lighter than you. God damn it, Deshaun is a perfect shining example on how even are richly melanated. And hey, and the brother ain't even that dark. We got some Black Americans who straight up on some Wesley Snipes type shit, and even they are not bleaching their skin and trying to play who's lighter than who competitions. Why is it that Black Americans are so comfortable in our skin while these Africans try to scrape it off? Riddle me that. And shout out to Deshaun. I just seen him in the chat, so I had to use him as a quick case study. Hope you don't mind. Sir, I'm lighter than you. I'm not sure if you're going to go to bed crying at night, but that's neither here nor there. You said you came here to set the record straight. So what misconceptions do you think us Black Americans have about Africans?
I think you guys have a weird way of thinking that immigrants, forget Africans, immigrants in general, immigrants don't need your permission or don't need your say so. We don't need to answer questions from you about why we come to America. Like, you're at the bottom of that society. Why do we need to talk to you about why we left? It's like I invite you to my house.
Hold on. You're a Kenyan that lives in Kenya. You have not fled Africa, probably because you're too broke to do so. But you're up here crying foul at the fact that when we do speak to Africans that flee the continent, we like to ask them why they left their homeland. So you're up here upset because we're curious as to why you fled Africa. And you're saying that they don't have to answer us. We're at the bottom of American society. If they don't have to answer us, then why are they in our spaces answering that question when we pose it? If they don't have to answer to us, why are they in our live streams just like you are right now? Let us know, Kevin. First of all, Kevin's not even your real name. I'll ask you what your second name is, but you probably won't tell us. But Kevin, let us know, what time is it right now in Kenya?
It's almost midnight.
It's almost midnight in Kenya, and you're up here on Mike TV show griping about Black Americans while simultaneously saying you don't care about us and you don't owe us any answers. Make it make sense. All right. So I understand you're insecure because we ask you why you guys fled. We don't have to touch on that. You're too broke to flee. So I'm not going to ask you that question. What other gripe do you have with us other than being insecure with the fact that we ask you why you leave Africa? Not just leave Africa, but y'all go to whoever just colonized you. That's where y'all go. Y'all go to France. Y'all go to Europe, somewhere in the UK. And the best and the brightest of you who got it going on flee over here to America to become Uber drivers. So when you talk about being at the bottom of society and yada, 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 y'all are over here in New York City living in fucking basements on bunk beds and furniture stores. What are you talking about, Playboy? What are you talking about? Y'all are flying to South America, walking through South America to get through the Mexico-US border. You're fleeing here in mass. Yes, when shady ass looking Africans, when adult age, military age males come to our country with no women, no children, just themselves, we want to ask, what the fuck you doing here, Playboy? What the fuck you doing here?
He was the last one. Hold on. Blue punch on. He's right here. That's what I'm telling you. Hold on. Bro, he just said hold on. That's it. You still whooping in? Hold on.
Bro, he just told you to hold on. Now you gotta wait, bro. You're not coming in.
Yeah, really?
No.
I'm sorry, sir. It's natural for anybody to ask why someone travels from so far and so wide to come to their country. It's a very common question. So, other than you being insecure that we ask that, what other issues do you have with us Black Americans?
Okay, I don't think you're trying to have a conversation. I think you're trying to roast. That's why you're not letting me talk and you keep playing random stupid videos instead of letting me talk. So
You may think they're random, stupid videos. I think that it's very important that I show the videographic evidence of you guys fleeing into our country en masse. Get out of your feelings.
I see dead people. In Harlem, a former asylum seeker is doing what she can to meet growing needs in the West African community.
In our series, Migrants in America, Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini shares her story.
they persecute me in my country.
He says political persecution forced him to flee Guinea, West Africa, a nation where significant human rights issues are a concern.
You interrupted my schedule today. You interrupted my last broadcast, bitching and whining in my chat. Give me the link. Give me the link. I want to talk to Mike so bad. Give me the link so you will speak when it is your turn. Now it is your turn, and you're going to tell us what other issues you have with Black Americans. Go ahead.
First of all, this fleeing thing, you are the first people to flee. So I don't know what you talk about, but with this fleeing nonsense.
I'm a Native American, so I don't know how I fled to my ancestral homeland. I don't know how that works. And if you're referring to the 4% of African slaves that went to North America during the transatlantic slave trade, they didn't flee. Mushmouth, grimy bush babies like yourself sold them to the white man. So who exactly fled, sir? Who fled?
Yeah, let me finish. Yeah, you fled because what's the first thing a Black American does when they make money? Do you stay in your neighborhoods, or do you run to Whitey to live in their?
You're a Kenyan man theorizing over what successful Black Americans do once they reach certain levels of success. You're a Kenyan man at midnight ruminating over what neighborhoods Black Americans move to, but you claim you don't care about us, and you claim y'all don't flee, and he just fled, y'all. He just ran off the stage because he knows this looks real strange. He opened up saying he don't give a damn about us, but he's up at midnight theorizing over where we move and where we stay. I bring up the clips about them skin bleaching. He got issues with that. We bring up the clips about them fleeing through the Mexico-U.S. border. He got issues with that. So guess what? The Bush baby couldn't handle the smoke. So like all Bush babies do, he fled, y'all. He fled. Hastas luegos, Bush baby. We'll see you next time.
Booyaka, booyaka, run, run, run. Booyaka, booyaka, run to you niggas. Booyaka, booyaka, boom, 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 boom. Booyaka, booyaka, run to you niggas. Booyaka, booyaka, run, run, run. Booyaka, booyaka, run to you niggas. Booyaka, booyaka, boom, 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 boom. Government. The government, it's the government, it's the government, the government, the government, it's the government, it's the government, it's the government, the government, the government, the government, it's the government, it's the government, the government, the government, it's the government, it's the government, it's the government, the government, the.
Oh boy, in classic Tether fashion, he fled, y'all. He fled. I've officially posted the StreamYard link. If there's any other Africans out there that want to call in and let us know what we get wrong about you Africans. I mean, guys, it was very interesting how he really didn't have anything to say about what we get wrong about Africans. He was really just up here to spout a bunch of xenophobic vitriol against Black Americans. He doesn't care about us, but you know, our culture's trash, and we're victims, and we're narcissists. And Africans don't flee when they run away from Africa and go to Europe for quote unquote better opportunities. They don't flee. Really, the fleers are our ancestors who came by way of the transatlantic. Oh, listen to this fuck shit, y'all. Listen to these mushmouth bush babies. He's going to really tell us the people that got captured by Africans like him are the real people that fled? Well, then why are you up here calling to a fleer, sir? Why are you so upset with us? Why do you have so much contempt if we're just some fleers that are narcissistic and failures? Then why are you up here at 12 in the morning trying to play the who's more light-skinned game? God damn it, y'all. This was a class act. This was a case study in how insecure and colonized these Africans are. Y'all just witnessed an African come up here and try to challenge me over who has the lighter skin. Those people are sick. Those people are sick. And Kelvin, you are banned from my chat. You cannot type another message in my chat. Click the link and call in. And you know what? I was interrupting you a little bit. Yes, I was, sir. It was very hard to hear you try to say that our ancestors who were enslaved were fleers. It was very hard to hear you say that. But you know what? If you click the link and call back in, I'll try to be as fair as possible. What I'll do is I'll put a timer up on the screen and I'll give you 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted, Kelvin. I'll give you 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted, and then I'll get 2 minutes to speak uninterrupted, and we'll do it that way since you feel that I've given you the short end of the stick. Since you feel that I've done you wrong somehow, we'll go ahead and play that game. So if you really are a man of your word, and if you really do want to have a discussion and you were just upset that Mike was interjecting, then you'll click the link and you'll call back in and you'll get your 2 minutes uninterrupted. That I can promise you. Good Lord, I'm so fair towards these Africans. You know they don't deserve it, but I'm just so fair, y'all. I'm just so fair like that. We got Kelvin backstage. You know what, Kelvin? Before we give you your 2 minutes uninterrupted, can you tell us what is your second name? It just feels really weird calling a Kenyan man Kelvin.
My second name?
Yes.
The same way I appear in the chat, that's my name.
So, like, your parents actually named you Kelvin, Kelvin.
Yes, the same way they named you, whatever they named you.
I mean, my name's Michael. That's not that crazy, being that I'm an American, but the fact that your name is Kelvin and you're a Kenyan man, are there a lot of Kenyans named Kelvin?
Yeah, it's a Christian country, so yeah, there's a lot of people with Christian names, so-called Christian names.
Oh, okay. Well, give me just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and get that timer queued up so you can get your 2 minutes uninterrupted. Oh, Lord, I'm sure you can say a whole lot of things in 2 minutes. You guys are in for a treat. Here we go. Let's go ahead and share the screen. All right. You can go in 3, 2, 1. Go for it.
First of all, what I was trying to say is I'm not here to judge. I was just trying to stick up to West Africans, because Kenyans, we don't really leave Kenya that much, because Kenya is a bit built up. It's not, unlike Nigeria and other West African countries, so we never leave that much. You never hear so much about Kenyan immigrants. But to your point, which you're trying to say, I was trying to say we don't need to. This idea that you guys think we're supposed to check with you when we come to America, we don't. Like, if my cousin came to America, he got a scholarship from a white university. It wasn't you. You didn't create the infrastructure, so why am I talking to you about it? I don't need to talk to an American, to a Black American. You're not creating, you are at the bottom of that society. And I say this respectfully. But so why do you feel like we need to check with you and we need to talk to you? Why are you trying to gatekeep something that you don't own? That's my first point. That's how I'm defending the West Africans who are there and they are unable to defend themselves when they're being attacked. Number two, the fleeing thing. What did you guys do immediately after Jim Crow? You fled. You fled Black businesses. You fled. You fled Black areas. You even fled from your Black woman to go be with a white woman. So what is this fleeing business? And what's the first thing you do when you make money? Do you stay in the hood, or do you go live with white people? So you're the last person to tell anybody that they fled, because you would know something about fleeing, because that's what all you do. You always flee. You flee from everything Black and go to everything white. So never ever tell an African about fleeing because you would know something about that. You feel me, homeboy? So go ahead.
No, I don't feel you, Bush baby. I don't feel you at all. Let's go ahead and start the timer and let's see how badly I can obliterate this Bush baby in 2 minutes or less. Okay, here we go. Your first point that you try to make is that who are we that you guys have to check in with us? It's not that you have to check in with us. It's that coincidentally, you guys are all up in our spaces, all up in our Twitter spaces, all up in our live streams, talking a bunch of fuck shit and bullshit African superiority when we all know you're fleeing from a shithole. So it's not like we're standing guard at the border saying, hey, African, check in with Black Daddy. When you come into our spaces and talk a whole bunch of fuck shit, we say, hold on, why are you here? Why aren't you in Africa? So that's your first point you fucked up on. Second, you talk about us being at the bottom of society. Sir, Kenyans are at the bottom of society. What are you talking about? You guys have a 36% poverty rate. Your country is owned by Africans, ran by Africans, governed by Africans, and you still have such a high poverty rate, and you got the nerve to tell us that we're at the bottom? Sir, even if we were at the bottom of American society, that's like being in the 1% of the fucking Kenya. Do you understand what you're saying, sir? The most successful Kenyan is poorer than the poorest Black American. Do you understand that dynamic? You guys do not have it going on, not by a long shot. Sir, earlier, you probably didn't flee. It was probably your Wi-Fi because you're probably calling in from a fucking shanty town. This is the environment that you Kenyans live in, and you got the nerve to call in at midnight bitching and complaining about a foundational Black American. Sir, what shantytown village are you calling in from right now? Sir, do you know how many of your grandparents we sponsored as pen pals? Sir, do you know how much Red Cross rice fed you as a child? Sir, you are barking up the wrong fucking tree, and you gonna learn the hard way. Your third point of contention, again, is that we fled, which means you're just simply not acknowledging the foundational Black Americans that are aboriginal to North America. Meanwhile, you're born and raised in Kenya. Kenya still looks like this shithole right here, and you have the nerve to call in to us, claiming that we're at the bottom of society. The poorest Black American living in a project is still better off than the average Kenyan, and that's my time. Now, before you respond, let's go ahead and check in with the chat, and then we'll queue up another 2 minutes and let you go. Let's see what our live audience is saying. Ladies and gentlemen, I was not even planning on going live today. If you appreciate the content, if you want this live stream to continue, go ahead and throw 5 on it. Hit the Cash App, hit the PayPal. I am your humble servant after all. Desmond says this guy is a joke. J9 says Chinese are in power in Africa with the Arabs, whites, and Indians. Yeah. Nick says we still live in America and all of my neighbors are Black and well off. Yeah. Black says this guy learned Black history from a white supremacy school. Yep. Facts. Failed athlete says the Bush baby's out of his mind. J9 says Kenyan in a village talking about Jim Crow. We don't care or no. Exactly. Why is a man calling in from a third world country talking about Jim Crow and shit? I mean, they're fascinated with us, guys. They're absolutely fascinated. Biggest slum in Africa? Yes, it's located in Kenya. Yep, that's facts. Rob from Denver says Kenyans can't move to white neighborhoods because those are surrounded by walls and have armed security to keep them out in their own country. Yeah, that's too much truth for the Kenyan man. That's too much truth. Come on. Yeah. Chinese are impregnating Kenyan women. Yeah. Y'all is getting taken over by the goddamn Chinese, and you got the nerve to call in griping about us.
The fancy cars, the women and the caviar. You know who we are, cause we're pimping all over the world. The fancy cars, the women and the caviar. You know who we are, cause we're pimping all over the world. Singing hoes.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and queue up your next 2-minute segment. Here we go. All right, Kelvin, you have the floor.
lower of Black Americans with all these chats, but okay, let's continue. But the point you're making about Kenya being a poor country, okay, cool. We are a poor country, but I do well for myself. I'm part of the 1% in Kenya, so I'm fine. I don't live in a shanty. I live very well, so I'm very happy with myself. And when you bring up, and when we challenge you, you guys always bring up the poverty in Africa. But we're talking about America. We're talking about that. You're complaining about African immigrants in America. So compare yourselves with them in America. Stop talking about the poverty in Africa. Those Africans that are in Africa in poverty, they're not your problem. Your problem is the black immigrant, okay? There's no way you're fighting with a black immigrant if you're doing better than him. People who are doing better than you don't care about you. They don't talk about you. The reason you have a whole channel discussing black immigrants is because you're probably intimidated by the black immigrants that are there kicking your butts. There's no way you talk about black immigrants if they're insignificant. If I'm rich, I'm a rich man myself. I'm a millionaire in Kenya shillings. I'm good. I don't talk about poor people down there because they're below me. The reason you talk about Africans is because African immigrants is probably because they're competing and outbeating you. If they were above them, there wouldn't be a topic. There would be a charity case to you. The reason you have a whole channel discussing black immigrants is because they are a threat, sir. You don't want to admit it with your light-skinned bitch ass, but you know they're a threat. Otherwise, you wouldn't talk about them. You would be talking about other things, like your 10 baby mamas. That's all you would do. So just admit it and shut up and stop talking like we don't matter. We matter. That's why you're intimidated by us.
And that's your time, Bush baby. That's your time. Give me just a moment. Let me go ahead and reset that. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Bush baby is really on one. He admits that Kenyans are poor, but he says that he's in the 1%. He doesn't live in the shanty town. Matter of fact, he says that he's a millionaire in Kenya. Listen, Bush baby, your Kenya shilling is worth 0.0075 United States dollars. So don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. When he says he's a millionaire, he makes about 7,500 a year USD. Sir, that is fucking sad. That is laughable that you think that that is a flex. And it's not that you migrants are coming over here and you're such a threat. Yes, you are a threat to our community. You're not a threat to our success. Don't get it twisted. Y'all come over here to be Uber delivery Eats drivers and shit. Y'all don't got shit popping. The way that you Africans are a threat is over in Africa. You are raping, mutilating, and butchering women and children. And you're coming over here and doing the same thing, you savage ass African. Illegal African immigrants raped an unconscious 14-year-old in America. This is what we're battling with. You criminal ass Africans coming over here and bringing that genocide and rape culture to America. That's what we're fighting against. And when you say that my whole channel is about black immigrants and black immigrants are kicking our butt, no, sir. You only care about black American and African relations, which is why my content I produce on that subject, the algorithm pushes towards you. I cover a wide range of topics on my channel. We cover scammers, grifters, charlatans, frauds. There's a bunch of black Americans we go at as well. But goddamn it, when we talk about you Africans, because what we say is true, because we say has historical credence. Oh, you don't want to talk about this. This is what we're fighting against. You illegal African migrants coming over here, raping and pillaging. You illegal African migrants that are not doing better than us. You illegal African migrants that are holed up in basements in New York City, driving unregistered illegal mopeds, shoplifting and shit, so that you can get some fake papers to go get you a job. You guys aren't fucking competing with us on a success level, but you are criminals that are fucking up our communities. I digress. Now, before we go ahead and give you another 2 minutes, we got to get tuned in with the chat real quick. Black World Forever. Actually, hold on. We got to go a little bit higher. Where does it start? Let's see. Here we go. Our poverty is much better than yours. Facts. He's the Prince of Wakanda. Yeah, y'all, he's a millionaire, right? And our homeless still live better than your kings. Facts. J9 says, yes, the mixed Africans, Ethiopians, Arabs, Indians live in heavenly secured communities away from these Kenyans in their own land. Yeah, facts. Nick says, of course, we are complaining about y'all illegally coming here. Exactly. And now New York City is about to start giving y'all $1,000 a month on debit cards. Yeah. Yeah. Deadpool says, we can bring up other stuff too, but it's still all shit, hence shithole countries. You're poor. You can't even flee. Come on, y'all. Facts. He claims he's a millionaire, but you know he would have fled if he really had it like that. You know he would have fled. J9 says, Kenya run by Kenyans and still a shithole. Exactly. Nick says, most Americans have a problem with the migrant crisis. Yeah. He's acting like it's exclusive to black people. They are Uber drivers. This dude's a troll. These fools flee and never go back home. When they do, they separate themselves. That African prince scam. Facts. I'm intimidated by someone who is using my handouts. Nah, I don't think so. This guy is tether babbling. He's talking about us getting rich and moving out the hood, but his leaders leave the whole continent once they get in office. God damn it. As soon as a motherfucker becomes president in Kenya, this motherfucker relocates to France. He starts shopping in Rodeo Drive. He gets a mansion in Beverly Hills. Come on, let's talk about it, y'all. Yeah, he's gonna say me and my 10 baby mamas. We ain't even gonna bring up the rate of single mothers in Kenya. I don't want to make him cry today, y'all. I don't want to make him cry. And yes, he's not setting anything straight. He's literally playing into the stereotype of the angry African that's jealous of Black Americans. Come on, he isn't even an African that fled. He's still in Africa, calling in at 1 a.m. to talk some shit about Black Americans. 30 lies in 2 minutes. Facts. He's a millionaire in Kenya shillings. 1 Kenya shillings is worth 0.007. Yes, guys, I was not being facetious when I said if he's a millionaire, that means he makes about 7,500 USD a year. That ain't shit. Randall says that's the white man way to argue. Can't produce facts, so they insult. Yeah, facts. I wasn't really throwing out no insults until he went there. He's eating bushmeat as he's talking. Tell him to count to 100 in English. He's a Kenyan bush millionaire. Nobody's jealous of Africans. Go away. This can't be. Yeah, guys, this is sad. You Africans got to hold this L because this is your 1%. This is your best and your brightest. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Yes, we can buy him with a dollar bill. Yes. Yes, speaking of dollars, speaking of contributions, Marco, thank you for the contribution, brother. I appreciate the support. Hugh Davis, thank you for the contribution. I appreciate the support. Vovo Rants, thank you for the contribution. I appreciate the support. New Era, New Era threw 5 on it. He said for light skin. Yeah, you know, I'm just yellow. Come on, y'all. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna be an asshole too. I'm gonna be an asshole. Hey, sir. Before you take your next 2 minutes, I have an offer for you. If you admit that you're just envious and jealous of Black Americans and ashamed of your culture, then I will send you 10 United States dollars right now, which is 1,325 Kenya shillings. Just admit that you guys are ashamed of your culture and you're obsessed with us, and I'll give you $1,000. Who wants to be a Kenyan millionaire? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I'm the 50 Cent of the diaspora. Bush baby, admit you're insecure. Be a millionaire. Oh, come on, y'all. I could have made him a millionaire. I could have changed his life. I could have gave him generational wealth. His whole family would have been set. They would have been able to, you know, put up well water in the village and electricity, maybe some solar panels. Oh, no, you know them Africans are selfish, backwards savages. They would have just smoked up the money like the crackheads they are. God damn it, I'm just being optimistic. This is just wishful thinking, if you will. Shout out to the one Bush baby in the chat that we did have earlier. The link is still pinned. You know, actually, let me drop the link again. It's been a while since I dropped the link. I thought it was pinned, but it's not. So maybe that's the only reason why the Bush baby in the chat hasn't called in. I mean, guys, if you want to troll, why troll in the chat when I give you an invitation to come troll on stage? You know, you can say it with your chest and let us know how you really feel. We don't even make you cam up. We know you're insecure about them hairlines and them big protruding foreheads. But you would think they would appreciate the golden opportunity to finally speak to a group of Black Americans. I mean, you know they're obsessed with us, right? You know they sit in the mud hut with a janky ass iPhone from 2006, getting in clubhouses and Twitter spaces and YouTube live streams to do what? To better themselves, to learn something? No, to bitch and whine and gripe about Black Americans. Y'all, that's crazy. Imagine like our worst, most down bad Black American, right? Imagine we got Deshaun, who's a convicted felon, gets out of jail, can't find a job, so now he turns to drugs, right? He's a crackhead, homeless, jobless, drug addict on the street. Matter of fact, he's lucky. He's fucking on some chick that has Section 8 housing, so he can sneak into the Section 8 housing, right? So if we just create and hypothesize the most craziest scenario of a Black American, just the extremist ideals of poverty, right? Now imagine that individual up at night at 1 a.m. bitching and whining about some foreigners on the other side of the world. God damn it, you know what? I heard about those Turkish people and those fucking Turkish people, and those Turkish people are degenerate and they like crime and like the oppression, and I don't even think they really have right. Those fucking Turkish people. It just really wouldn't make sense, right? Imagine this down bed crackhead, the straw man that we just created together like a voodoo doll. Imagine this person at 2 a.m. just those fucking South Koreans, man. I just really want to get online and let these people know how I feel about these South Koreans. That would be odd. You have no connection to these people. You have no connection to their culture. You have a myriad of issues that you need to solve within your own life, within your own community. So why are you obsessed with others? And in that same vein, this is how these Bush babies act when they get online. Mans is calling in from Kenya. Kenya has a single mother crisis, down bad. They're not a player on the geopolitical landscape at all. If anybody in Kenya has money, they flee not just to another African country, but they flee away from the African continent by and large to a European nation. Y'all are so down bad. It's almost sad. But when we learn how backwards and xenophobic you are towards us, we just don't give a damn anymore. We just don't care. Hold your own nuts. Stay out of our country. Stop trying to talk like us, dress like us. You Bush babies in the UK that call yourself Black Brits, stop coming to America trying to play our civil rights heroes and shit. How about you guys create heroes of your own? And then you guys can play and mimic and mock those heroes of your own. And just leave us alone. But guys, we've got some live callers. The first one we're bringing from the back to the front is New Era. New Era, let the folks know where you're calling in from and what's on your mind.
What up, big dog? Calling in from South Carolina. I just joined in the chat because I seen you was live. I don't know what's going on. I just heard some Bush babies. We was running a replay until we got some live calls.
Yep, yeah, we was just running a good old-fashioned replay till we got some live callers. If you remember, that was the Bush baby named Kevin, who tried to say he was lighter skinned than me. And then, I gave him a timer, and at 2-minute increments, he basically said a bunch of dumb shit about this. Yeah. Kevin was definitely memorable because there's only been 2 Africans that I've really been able to savagely checkmate into exposing themselves and their own insecurities. Kevin, and he exposed himself when he tried to do the whole "I'm lighter than you." And then if you remember, there was that other dude called Razaman, right? And Razaman actually confessed to bleaching his skin as a young kid in the UK, as an African kid in the UK, bleaching his skin. So yeah, guys, you should definitely stay tuned in. Nightbot, hold on, Nightbot is circulating some links for some of my new channels. Check out my channel, Native Black American Journals. That's where most of my indigenous content is going to be held from here on out. Some of you guys are watching on the Diaspora Wars channel right now. You guys go ahead and make sure to sub to the Diaspora Wars channel. That's where most of my African content is going to be from here on out. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting dynamic. And a lot of you guys probably haven't even seen this footage. This was an interaction I had with that Bush baby, 6 months ago or something. And over time, I will be clipping up these live streams and dropping them as little short videos for you guys to catch up on some sensational moments that you most likely missed out on. But go ahead, New Era.
Yeah, all I was gonna say, Rising Man was definitely a tough one to watch. I used to hate the way how it used to look. That shit was wild, dog.
That shit was so wild and heartbreaking. Man's confessed. He said he had a whole regiment. He said he was in
Yeah,
middle
I was about
school.
to get to that shit. What was it, 2 or 3 times a day?
Yeah, I think it
Before
was
school, after
three
school, and
times a
before the
day.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said like in the morning he would rub on like some bleaching cream or something. And then he said once he came home from school, he would take like a chemical bleach bath. And then he would take like a regular bath, and then he would put more bleach on, and that would like complete his regiment. Yeah.
But they would love to talk about you being light skinned. That's some wild ass shit.
Hey, and I've never even thought like that I had any leg up for having a fair complexion, or that I was better than anybody who was certain. No, like I really don't see color like that. I mean, I have darker skinned people in my family. I have lighter skinned, damn near white passing people in my family, and everything in between. So yeah, I'm not sure why these Africans are so caught up on complexion. You would think that we would be, right, with all the racism and Jim Crow and oppression and right, but the Africans barely got colonized for let's just say a weekend, as far as history is concerned. That they had a weekend with the Europeans, and they ain't never been the same. We've been dealing with these.
Go to my motherfucking mom's birthday party in like 3-4 hours. She turned 70. I gotta go serve some food for people and be nice for 5 hours.
Damn, you gotta go be nice, huh?
Yeah, you know, like people like that. It's gonna be some people I don't know. I gotta still smile though. My mom know how I get down with the food though. She was like, "Don't be giving nobody no food like you be perceiving yourself." Wrong person to ask though. They about to get fed. Fuck around with me.
Stay on task. Right now, we barbecuing these Africans. Okay, this nigga high. His mind's wandering. He said,
Hey,
"Damn,
it's
I
a
gotta
little
go
lot big
talk to
up.
people and be nice. I gotta go socialize." You haven't high. I think we live. We on show. Okay. Hey, wait. On a side note, though, are you calling in from your new gear?
No, I'm on the phone, but I got some new one in the most post box that shit just came like 2 hours ago. I gotta go pick that shit up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everybody, New Era is my guinea pig social experiment. He said that he purchased some streaming gear from Temu, so I'm waiting for him to call in using it so we can see if his mic sounds like he's underwater or if his gear actually works properly. But you know what? It's crazy. They call me the king of receipts, so let me go ahead and live up to the name. I know we're referring to this other guy named Raza, and Raza lived in the UK. I think he might have also been Kenyan though, as far as heritage. But I actually do have a clip of when Raza gave us his skin bleaching regimen. Check this out, guys.
When I was a child, I had to suffer from self-hatred. So I hated the fact that I was black. And obviously I found some like remedies and whatnot. And I'd overuse medication, which would end up bleaching my skin.
All right, guys, his audio is kind of fucked, so let me translate. He said, when I was a kid, I hated that I was black. So I would use chemicals and stuff, a chemical regimen to bleach my skin. Now let's keep it going.
First of all, when I was a child, I had to suffer from self-hatred. So I hated the fact that I was black. And obviously I found some like remedies and whatnot. And I'd overuse medication, which would end up bleaching my skin. And on top of that, I would take bleach.
He said he would overuse medication, which would end up bleaching his skin. Guys, did you know some of these Africans overdose on pills purposely? Because there's some pills that have the strange chemical reaction of lightening your skin pigmentation. I didn't even know this. You Africans are ODing on meds to get fairer skin? Okay.
On top of that, I would take bleach baths as well. And then I go and take a bleach bath. And then I take a normal bath. And then I'll put cream on again.
Damn. Hold on, guys. I wasn't paying attention. He said he did what? He would overuse the medication. He popped them perkies. he popped them bleach pills, right? And then he would take a chemical bath and a regular bath. What?
And bleach my skin. And on top of that, I would take bleach baths as well. And
I would take bleach baths as well.
then I go and take a bleach bath.
I'd go and take a bleach bath.
And then I take a normal bath.
And then I take a normal bath.
And then I'll put cream on again.
And then I put the cream on again. And on top of that, he's ODing on medication. Ain't nothing an African can tell me. How about you, New Era?
Can an African tell me nothing?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're new to the broadcast, like the video, share the video, hit the Cash App or the PayPal if you support the mission. You know they still got your boy demonetized and shadow banned, but we still here to bring you that good content. Oh man, these Africans kind of give me a headache. You know, I find myself smoking through my supply at a much rapid rate the more and more I conversate with these Africans. But New Era, if you have any closing remarks, I'm gonna drop you down, and then I got one more guest that we're gonna bring up.
All right, shit, go on to the guest. I'll fluctuate a little bit up. You know, I get that.
All right, for sure. Talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.
All right, next one we got coming from the front is Ditso. Ditso, let the people know where you're calling in from and what's on your mind.
Hey, Mike. Pura vida. Ewa, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Busy. Got several things going on down here. You know. So we're just coming up. I don't know. Our last.
Well, you've been backstage for a while, so let us know what you think about the content you saw.
There's so much to converse about. In fact, one thing I was looking at while catching up onto this, you know my work. You know that what I do over here. So people have an idea. I work here in migrant issues, human rights issues. One major issue that I've been working for the past 14 years is the drug policy reform in Latin America and Central America, Caribbean, and South America. And one thing that came to mind while this old conversation was being replayed, I just loaded something real quickly for you to see. This was an analysis done by Guillermo Navarro Alvarado from the University of Costa Rica. It's the African migratory flows in Costa Rica from the years 14 to 20. So in the last in that span of 6 years, what it was.
Hold on real quick. So for us Americans out there, we know that Africans have been coming to our country in an alarming rate, but what most of you don't realize is that they're actually flying into South America, and from South America, they're traversing through a dozen or at least half a dozen different South American countries to get to the US-Mexican border, where they can sneak through and claim that they're seeking asylum in a sanctuary city. So, you know, it's very interesting that, you know, Ditso is a Puerto Rican man. Wait, is it Puerto Rican or Costa Rican?
Ouch, Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, my bad. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. So it's interesting that that you're a Costa Rican man, and this is the kind of work that you're engaged in. And if I was to pull up a map on my end, I mean, Costa Rica is like a area that they would have to pass through in order to get to the US-Mexican border, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, there's no way that they can like circumvent Costa Rica or go around Costa Rica or anything, right?
Just to give you a particular idea, hold on, I have a map here. This is a
let me see. So Costa Rica, yeah. So Costa Rica's right here. So like they literally have to go through Costa Rica. There's no way around it. And oftentimes these folks are flying into places like Colombia or Brazil because apparently they don't like require you to have proper papers to take a flight into some of these countries. So they'll fly into a country somewhere over here where they don't need papers, and then they'll start going by foot and by bus and by coyote all through all these countries: Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua.
Can you
Honduras.
zoom in into the Panama border with Colombia?
Yeah. And there's a very dangerous
this
stretch.
This is the Darien stretch, which stretches over 17,000 kilometers. I've walked this. I've been there about 10 times in my activism. Yes, I've walked that. In fact, if you move a little bit up to the north, where it says Talamanca, Tocomuna, and then just a little bit up, you'll see the Talamanca. All this area is also indigenous area. We share two major populations on the north, which are the Bribri and the Cabecar, and then the Nago Blugle, and also the Tocumanos, which are four major indigenous groups that had been there thousands of years, even prior to the arrival. So a lot of that walking on migrants is going through also indigenous area.
Wait, hold on. How many days is it to get through this Darien Trail?
It depends. 2 weeks by foot, 2.5 weeks,
Damn.
depending on the terrain.
And guys, I only know this because I researched this kind of stuff in my spare time. And when I was researching how the Africans are coming through South America, they mention this Darien Trail, and they mention that this is a very arduous trail. It's difficult. They have a lack of supplies. Sometimes there'll be people to poach them or rob them on the trail. There's no social services. There's no police. If you die, if you get injured, you're on your own. They're going to leave you. Women are getting, molested and raped in certain situations. And this is a place that you have to travel to on your path to America. There's no way to get around this. Even if somehow you started at this point or this point, instead of actually starting over here at the furthest side of the coast, you still have to go through this multi-day or multi-week hike. And, it's pretty mountainous terrain as well, right?
Yeah, it's rainforest, and it has different elevations. It covers about 17,000 kilometers. I'll have to translate it to miles. Give me a sec, because right now my brain is not in the exchange range between kilometers to miles. So kilometers to miles, 17,000. 1, 2, 3.
And when I speak about
10
this arduous
10,000.
journey, I'm not really saying it to have any sympathy on these Africans. I'm saying it to say, look at what lengths they're going through to get to our country. We used to have the jokes about the Mexicans or the wetbacks, and they swim across the Rio Grande. That ain't nothing. Traveling from Mexico to the U.S., so that ain't nothing. They got tunnels, they got sewers. They've been doing it for decades. That ain't nothing. Them Africans are getting flights. Who knows what they got to do to even come up with the money for the flight, and getting into Venezuela, Colombia. They getting scammed. These South Americans hate these fucking, well, a lot of them at least, really dislike these African migrants. They treat them poorly, and then they got to come through and they got to go through this Darien National Park, and that's not even half the journey. That's not even half the journey. Yeah. That's damn near the beginning of the journey. Then after they get through,
and like I was showing,
hold on, and then after they get through the 2-week hike, they got to go through Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Chivas, big ass Mexico, and then they can finally get to the U.S.-Mexico border. Look at the lengths that they're taking to get to our ancestral homeland. Meanwhile, they say they don't care about us and our culture is trash, but they're fleeing here towards it. But go ahead, so you have the floor.
Well, going back to this whole conversation in this sense, for example, on the document I brought in, which was one of many studies that we've done in regard to this. In fact, before I share this, I want to share this real quickly right here. And this just, and this was, I'm bringing a North American source, but this just happened. In fact, I was called out as part of the civil groups that we help in this type of situations, but this just happened 3 days ago. I'm sorry that it's in Spanish, but translation.
When you say you were called out, do you mean in a negative way?
No. Called out to assist.
Okay.
I also, I have 22 years as a first responder reservist. So I work in assisting in search and rescue and recovery.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This just happened 3 days ago. We found, Panama's authorities found 10 bodies, migrants, in one of the dangerous parts of the Darien, what we say in Spanish, el tapón de Darien, or the blockade of the Darien. I brought the LA Times newsletter because people are a bit more comfortable with North American sources, but this happened.
Hey, if anything, I'm comfortable more so with local sources. So if you also have
Yeah,
some sources
I can
from,
bring local
yeah,
sources
from North.
too, also in that sense. But that was 3 days ago. With the just give you an example in that period of 14 to 20, 2014, 2020, or 2014, 2020, there was a clear increment of mobilization happening. In fact, and here, let me share it real quickly. Give an idea as to what that mobilization was, and I'm going to bring something interesting that it's going to add into the conversation as I'm sharing it right now. So everybody knows that I'm talking about this. Flujos migratorios africanos en Costa Rica del 14 al 20, African migratory flows in Costa Rica 14 to 20. So this particular document tells us something interesting in page 16. Here we go. I'm gonna zoom a little bit and I'm gonna make the simultaneous translation. La identificación de las nacionalidades o proveniencia de los grupos migrantes africanos significó otro reto particular. Específicamente en el 16, la conjunción de flujos migratorios mixtos y la ausencia de documentos facilitó formas de negociación de identidades migratorias. So, first point.
Hold on. Before you go, I've been trying to become more familiar with the South American languages. So without me speaking the language at all, just if you allow me to play an ignorant gringo guessing game, from what I'm reading, it seems to be saying that there's been a significant and peculiar rise in migrants, especially since 2016. And something about documents. Did the government maybe make it easier for migrants to come over without documentation or something like that? Or am I totally off?
Oh, totally off. So the translation
That's right,
literally
guys.
is.
That's right.
So the little translation would be la identificación de las nacionalidades o proveniencia de los grupos migrantes. The identification of nationalities or origin of the migrant groups, of African migrant groups, meant another particular challenge. Specifically in 2016, the union of migratory flows as well as mixed and the lacking of documents, it made easier for that to be harder to reconcile. Why I wanted to give this perspective is because of this. For example, this is data of that period 14 to 20. Out of that amount of people who came in, about 220,000 in that period of 6 years. 1,614 were women, African women, 20%. 6,080 were men, 79%. And you had a composition of different African nationalities migrating, like Ghana, Eritrea, Senegal, and Cameroon. And this was this is data from the 16, not the 4 years. For example, between January and July of 16, 4,113 migrants who were men, African men, in irregular condition, or what you guys refer to as illegal, undocumented, etc. And in that same period, 1,515 women, African women. In general terms, the three nationalities that were at that period were Congo, the Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia. Those three represented over 5,000 on that period. Maria Jose Chavez Gro, another analysis in conjunction with Nanake Winters.
So what were they saying was the year-over-year increase?
The year on those period years, in that sense, give Give me a second. I have that figure right here. It's up. Sorry, right there. Sorry that it's sideways, so I'm gonna try to see if I can. Nope. There we go. Sorry, it's just that was the original. This is between 13, and this is on the northern part of Costa Rica. So you can see that the increments started happening between 14, 15, and 16. It went from a 2,000 entry up to that peak of 18,000 between 15 and beginnings of 16.
Did you say
That
from
was one
2000 to 18?
No, 2015 to 2016, we saw the increment from 2,000 migrants, usually of African descent or African origin, to 18,000. Then
Yeah, that's what I was asking you. So from 2000, so a 16,000 increase, right?
about
Or
that,
different?
yes, in a period of less than a year.
So in less than a year, you went from 2,000 African migrants coming through annually to 18,000. And if we remember that passage that, as a true gringo I am, I butchered earlier, that passage said that there's no way for you guys to even accurately report these numbers because most of the migrants don't have documents, right?
Exactly. Mainly, all this type of information is groups of us on the ground talking to each one migrant and asking them where you're coming from, etc. What is interesting on this is that, and that's just 1 year period. In the last 4 years periods, we've seen a somewhat stabilization. It has gone down from 18,000 to anywhere between 6 to 5,000 approximately, and it's projected in the next 5 years will go back to what it was of about 2,000.
And do they know why they speculate that it'll go back to its usual numbers?
Well,
I have a theory, but I'm curious what the
one
theory is for the
major
folks down there.
contributions to that speculation is the election of the new president of Panama, who is beginning to close down the Darien, find ways to close the Darien. Another aspect of this is that on the border of Colombia, there are the Frente de Liberación Nacional, the FLN, the subset of what used to be the FARC, is also making pressures to not have that many migrants move through. You did mention
Wait, hold on. I'm not understanding you on that. On the first point, the first difference, you said that there's going to be a new president of whom? Of where?
Panama.
Okay, so there's going to be a new president of Panama, and he may shut down the Darien Strait. But what was the second thing?
The second thing is the Frente de Liberación Nacional, which is the Front of National Liberation, an offset of the FARC, because once the FARC entered the peace negotiations, they broke up. And one of the offsets did not want any form of...
What is the FARC?
The Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias Colombianas, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. That's
So is that like ran by the government? Is that like a civil militia?
The FARC 60 years ago was a leftist movement, Marxist leftist movement, that in inspiration of what happened in Cuba and what had been happening throughout Latin America on that period of time, they rose up against the bipartisan liberal conservative movements in Colombia, and they pretty much
Hold on. So it says here, the FARC is the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or the People's Army. They're a Marxist-Leninist guerrilla group. What the hell is Marxist-Leninism? Marxist-Leninism is a communist ideology that became the largest faction of the communist movement in the world in the years following the October Revolution. It was a predominant ideology of most communist governments through the 20th century. It was developed by Joseph Stalin. Okay, what does it actually mean? What are the tenets and the principles? Orthodox Marxism, ideology
There's
of ruling party
a whole
like
bunch
China.
of history in that sense. Yeah.
Let's
So just to make it...
Hold on. I'm speed reading. After the death of Lenin, movement. Okay, what are the main tenets? Communist states. All right. discussion. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so basically it's kind of like what we generally think of as communism, where like the government runs the means of production and it's all community organized and everybody gets an equal share. Um Interesting. So these folks again were a guerrilla warfare group, communists. They were funded by kidnapped ransom and illegal mining. That doesn't sound very people's champion-esque to me. I mean, it depends though. Why is it illegal? Maybe they were just harvesting resources on their ancestral homeland and corporations were doing the same, but they, were doing it for their people and making the money. It's complicated. It's complicated. But
It's
illegal mining sounds bad. Kidnapping ransom sounds bad, but
look. I can make a dissertation as to. Let me put it this way: the United States people, who you call or people call leftists, they're nothing compared to what Latin America has lived in the examples of Fidel Castro, of the FARC, of the FLN, of the Sandinistas, of the Sendero Luminoso, and I can continue on, especially and particularly the periods post-war that had a particular reason as to why these sublevations and insurrections started happening, especially because of the bipartisan models that, or either bipartisan or mono parties controlling the politics of Latin America.
Hold on. So the whole reason that we were bringing up the FARC though was
Yeah,
because
no,
we were
yeah.
saying that the president of Peru was maybe
No,
going to close
Panama.
was going to close the Darien Gap, and then the FARC was what somehow going to help quell the spread of migrants.
No, the FARC is not going to help quell the movement of migrants. The FARC indirectly, because there's a lot of migrants that were mobilizing or trying to mobilize through their areas, are gonna start making it more difficult for them to do so, unless they get paid.
Oh, so they want to get their cut on the black market and kind of be coyotes or have some kind of
exactly.
Okay.
So,
So other than those two reasons, is there a third or a fourth reason why they predict that the migrant numbers may go down?
As we said, the new president of Panama, Laurentino Cortizo, has ran on the campaign and won to close the Darien Gap as one of his tenants. So we're seeing that he's going to start executing that within the next 6 months to a year, but it depends a lot of how much income he's able to redirect towards that, because you're closing 17,000 kilometers, 10,000 miles of rainforest protected area that is that you can't build, or you cannot do anything more than have minimal interaction, because it is considered an ecological reserve, and he legally can't do much against that establishment that has been on for decades. So anyhow,
I think all that quells in comparison to what I think will actually slow down the spread of migrants, and I think that Trump's gonna become our president once again, and he's gonna really reverse a lot of these sanctuary city, open border type policies, and I think that will have a far-reaching impact that's especially felt through South America. But what do you think about that, Ditso? Do you
Central
think
and South America.
our black Indian girl Kamala's gonna win?
Look, to be very sincere, the works we've been pressuring since the Obama era, well, for me, since the Obama era, where I become a bit more active into this, is three major factors. We have to end the war on drugs. We have to then reestablish new ways of drug policies throughout the whole continent that will enable then the lessen the impact of displacement of people because of war on drugs. On second aspect, we've been telling the United States for 30, 40 years that um, the one of the major factors that is also playing a role into the mobilization of migrants is the economic depressions and the economic inequality in other areas of the world as well as ours, that we need to establish better methods of reputation and of economic wealth in our countries.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. So what do you think about this whole African situation? Because with your illustrious background with human rights and grassroots organizations, I would imagine, similar to Black Americans, you at one point in time felt sympathy and empathy and tried to lend a helping hand. But now seeing how it's destabilized your country and the continent by and large, have you got maybe more so callous towards your thoughts on these African migrants, or?
Look, my work is being able to understand the macro and the micro circumstances as why displacement is happening. Empathy or no empathy, what I'm looking at is why is this happening? What are the circumstances that make this happen in such exponential grave situation? And obviously, when you look into that, you start realizing that there are a series of patterns happening and affecting
Well, hold on, hold on.
society.
Before we get into the reasoning and the catalysts and the different factors and different actors at play, what are your thoughts on it? Have you grown a negative sentiment towards these African migrants at all, or do you feel that these are just, poor people and you're willing to help them any way they can, even at the detriment of your own nation?
No, actually, neither. I think you know. I've talked to these people. I've seen what, and I've walked what they have to walk. I understand why, in many circumstances, some of them are displacing. But I'm going to give you an example. Haitians who are moving to this area of Panama and then doing the whole trip. What's interesting on this, and this happened to me. This is an actual, and in fact, the document there reports it too, and I have much evidence.
Okay, hold on. Again, we're going to allow you to get into the different, social, economic factors and stuff. But before we get into that, the question was, do you have any negative sentiment towards these African migrants
No,
at all?
no, negative or positive.
So
My
with that
vision is
said, you
fix
must
the
have
issue.
took the opposing side of that president. What was it? Is it Peru or Panama?
Panama.
So if that president is running on closing the Darien Strait, are you for or against closing the Darien Strait?
I am very much so that we need to close it down. Not only because the danger that it poses, but because it's an ecological reserve, and it needs to be closed down as much possible from
But if they
human
close the
interaction.
Darien Strait, there's no way for the African migrants to reach America or North America, which is their destination, right?
There will be three other routes that they probably will take. And one that is as dangerous as Darien, which is the Africans would cross the Atlantic once again. And
Where is it? Because all I see is the Darien right here.
okay. Span your map. Way more. There we go. All right. So picture on the right side Africa, all the way across the Atlantic. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have three major routes you can actually take into North America. The two major ones are the ones exiting from West Coast towards the Caribbean islands, and then from the Caribbean islands you would have to either head south or southwest to enter that border of Panama, Colombia, and then move up. That's the one that we're talking about right now. But there's another one that people don't realize on this, and it is as follows. you had from the western side of Africa, you had northwest, then make a 90-degree angle and land on Cuba. And once you land on Cuba, you have access to Florida. That's another route.
Wait. So this is what I'm not understanding. On the one hand, you say you have no negative sentiment towards the African migrants, but on the other hand, you say you want to close their current tried and true route, and your rationality is because they're harming the ecology of the area, it's dangerous, crime, etc. And when I say, okay, well, isn't that going to cut off their way to get to America? You're like, no, they've got these other ways to take. Well, these other ways are not going through that area, or not really even going through Costa Rica in some cases, if they take the Cuba to Florida route. So, on the one hand, you're like, yeah, I have no negative sentiment towards them. But on the other hand, you're like, yeah, they need to get to North America some other way, not through my land.
No. In a way, okay, look. I'm put it very simple.
I've got nothing against migrants, but they should close the border and not let them into our country anymore, right? It's kind of a paradox.
My work has to do with what I told you. I and many people of us were trying to understand why this is happening and how we can impact that.
We're going to take a deep dive into why it's happening, but we're still not onto that segment yet. So again, how can you say that you have no negative sentiment towards the African migrants if you recognize that there's been a negative impact due to their presence?
Mainly because I can't focus on negative or positive. I have to focus on solutions. That's it. I have to do something to fix
a solution for a problem, and problems have a negative connotation. So again, you've listed several negative outcomes of the increase in African migrants coming through that area. So you clearly have a negative disposition to a point. I mean, I'm not saying that you hate Africans. No one's saying you demonize Africans. Clearly, you're a very compassionate person. You've been involved in grassroots organizations for decades now, but you clearly see the negative aspect of them coming here en masse, and you think that there should be other avenues for them to make their journey that has less of a negative impact, right?
No, in fact, I would go another step and say we have to engage in those things that will minimize that irregular migration, that will open the door for Africans to stay in their homes, in their ancestral homes.
Why is that your responsibility? Why do you, as a Costa Rican man, need to do things that make Africans feel better about staying in their country? I mean, it seems like a pretty big burden you're taking on as a South American man, right? You need to fix Africa so Africans can stay in Africa. What?
I don't need to fix Africa. What I'm saying is, I have to. I part of my job and part of my of the work to protect not only my region, my indigenous, the Afro communities here, as well as the integrity.
Your region, the Afro-Indigenous communities, your people, your region.
Exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you an ambassador for the United Nations?
Nope. I'm a
so nothing about your job description, nothing about your organization has to do with fixing or uplifting continental Africans.
No. That to us, okay. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to fix the reasons why irregular migration is happening. That is what we're focused on.
And you can only fix the reasons that you have control over in your continent, right?
Technically, yes. But there are other reasons that we can pressure to change that are affecting all of us in a very equal way. One of those is the war on drugs and the increment of organized crime and the impact of that organized crime in the displacement of people, and then the taking advantage of that displacement of people and making money out of that displacement of people. So fundamentally, you're saying, look, migration is a human activity that has been happening for thousands and thousands of years. But in modernity, Today, what we're seeing is that the irregular, undocumented, illegal, whatever you want to refer it to,
Illegal
migration,
immigrants, yes,
is
illegal immigrant.
responding to particular set of circumstances that are fueling and are making that migration happen in a more aggravated fashion.
And what most people don't realize, especially people like you, because although you're very educated, I'm gonna, try to say this next statement gingerly, but I think that you have a blind allegiance to Africans to a fault. And what I mean by that is, you're acknowledging the negative impact. We realize migrations always happen, but this new, unprecedented, undocumented migration, it's terrible on all fronts, right? But what you're not realizing that if we just totally cut off the other side of the world and leave them to deal with their own problems, then by default, that helps them solve their issues. If these Africans have an option, hey, my country's fucked up, and I can work really hard to fix my country, or I can work really hard to flee to South America and get to the US. If fleeing to South America and getting to the US is always a potentiality, then they will choose that every time. But if the borders of Europe were closed, and if the borders of South America and North America were closed, then they would have no other default but to stay and fight and fix their country. South America, you guys got conquered like a motherfucker for 200 or 300 years by the Spanish. You guys have a rich history of the blood that you soaked in the soil to gain your independence. Imagine if the South Americans, instead of fighting the Spaniards, they chose to flee to maybe China or something. That would never change the circumstances, and South America would look completely different present day. So again, if we remove this default option of them fleeing their country, then their new default option is fixing their country. But here's the problem. If we really get down to the plans within plans and secret society-esque plans, you understand that the European countries, even the South American countries and the American countries, we allow this to happen at certain points in time. It's like a water faucet that we turn off and we turn on. If we want to drum up interest in political process, then we're gonna turn on the faucet and let some migrants come over. If we want a new cast of slave labor, or some new black market laborers, then we're gonna turn on the nozzle and let some Africans come over. But this is at a detriment to the masses of those people's citizens. And the elites really don't care, because in the United States, they're in their gated communities or they're in Billionaires Row. They're not being raped by the Venezuelan and African migrants on the street level. Same thing in South America, right, Ditso? Your elites probably live in villas with cartel-like security and stuff. They're not the ones having to deal with the crime and all the issues the average citizens are.
In fact, you mentioned two things, and now that you mention it, first, you said something that is extremely important for people to understand, and I wanna bring this into collation, and let me introduce it uninterrupted because I have to make the point very precise. You said something that is important. You said South, Central, and Caribbean fought for their independences, and that is correct. What's interesting on this, and if you could please bring the point here. If you look at the processes of independence of the Western Hemisphere versus what happened in Africa, by the time the majority of countries in Africa became independent from the colonial powers at that time, we could say that it has been in the last 70 years, approximately, because you have countries that started becoming independent on 1847 and 1910. That's the two earliest. The Republic of Liberia and South Africa, the Republic of South Africa. But then from that point on,
wait, hold on. I'm only interrupting for clarification. Are you saying that South America got their independence a lot earlier than Africans?
Yes, I'll bring that up in just a moment. So, as you can see, for example, the majority of countries between the decades of the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s were starting to become independent. So you have a period of that only about 2-3 countries had about 100 years of history of independence, and the majority have had only about anywhere between 60 to 30 years or 60 to 40 years of independence. That tells us a lot in that sense. Now, if you look at the in the independences of Latin America as such, you will see that the majority of them started happening between 100 to almost 200 years prior to what was happening in Africa. So, for example,
Hold on. I'm seeking clarification. Are you highlighting the fact that colonization by the Spaniards to the South American indigenous people that happened hundreds of years before African colonization, right?
yeah, well, basically, African colonization started happening
In the late
prior.
19th century.
In the late 19th century, yes, you'll see that that's the majority where you see.
So just for clarification for my viewers, the Spaniards started colonizing South America as early as the late 1400s, early 1500s. Africans were business partners with the Europeans all throughout this time. Africans were freely selling African slaves to the Spaniards, who then went and helped the Spaniards conquer the indigenous people in South America. So these Africans got blood on their hands like a motherfucker. But what we're really trying to highlight here is the Africans didn't go from business partners to being colonized by the Europeans until the late 19th century. And they got their independence around the 1960s. So for one, they were colonized way later than everybody else. For two, they were business partners with Europeans for hundreds of years before they got colonized. And for three, they were colonized for maybe the shortest amount of time than anybody else. But I've got to ask, do you not have any contempt for the African slave traders that made it possible for the Spanish to come to South America and the Americas by and large?
Of course, there was contempt. Of course, there's criticism in regard to that involvement. But of course, there's also a analysis that you know me. I'm more of I go into the nitty and gritty of things. So when I try to make that analysis, yes, the contempt is there, but at the same time, what is there is knowing that they foolishly, because of money, because of greed, because of other circumstances, became allies to that. Some of them.
It's not foolishly because of money, because of greed. They had a choice. They can choose the light side of the force or the dark side of the force, and they chose the dark side.
So
you can be a force for justice and righteousness, or you can be a rapist, pedophile, murderer. We all make choices. E40 had a great song. Everybody got choices. So no, let's not give the African slave traders cop-outs. Oh, that money was just, that beer the Europeans get, the beer just tasted so good, and those mirrors they got were so shiny, and they can look at themselves in the mirror. Let's not give them a cop-out for choosing to sell out their own people, and them selling out their own people destabilized and was the catalyst for the genocide that was enacted on your and my people. So I mean, this is some really crazy shit when we get down to it. If them Africans weren't such backwards degenerates, and not all of them, but at least the slave trading ones on the West Coast and the East Coast, if they weren't practicing such the debaucherous things, I mean, the world would be different today.
Can you bring the next screen I have? All right, this is the list of independences in Latin America. You could see that as early as 1810, 1816, that was the beginning of the processes. Majority became independent on 1821, 1811 on the case of Venezuela, which happened a year after the independence of Mexico.
But why is this relevant to the discussion of the Africans?
To the point we were making, that the decolonization of Africa happened after what had happened here in Latin America, and much of what had happened here started influencing into the processes of decolonization that we started seeing mid 1800s and last century in that
So how
sense.
did the colonization that the Spaniards did in South America, how did that impact African colonization by the British and the other Europeans?
That's an interesting take. My position.
It's not an
from the
interesting take. You're pulling up maps and diagrams
Yeah.
showing that South Americans got colonized earlier and got their independence earlier, and you're saying because that happened earlier than Africans' colonizations, somehow it had an adverse effect on Africans' colonization. So I'm trying to see in what way is that linked? Because
Three ways.
these were completely different groups, right? I don't
Three-
remember hearing about Spain colonizing Africa. I thought that was mostly the
Oh,
British
they
and the
did.
Dutch and stuff, right?
No, Spain did actually colonize parts of Africa. Guinea Equatorial, they speak Spanish because they were under the control of Spain. Spain had, what was it? Um, 4 or 5 nations on the western side of colonial rule. If I'm not incorrect, they had Western Sahara. They had controls of parts of Western Sahara. They had controls of Ceuta and Melilla, Morocco, parts of Morocco, Guinea Equatorial, alongside the colonization has to be seen as something neatly European, where you had French, English, Spanish, Portuguese.
Okay, but either way,
and so
how
on.
does the colonization in South America have anything to do with colonization in Africa?
Three major reasons. You had a very well established economical balance in favor of the European nations that had the importation and exportation of textile, spices, and slavery, being slavery one of the major
So they got so
causes of
much
action.
wealth through their colonization, that's why it was easier for them to conquer Africa later on.
Exactly.
So why do you bring that up though? Is that somehow another cop out for the Africans' behavior, or?
I wouldn't know if it's a cop out or not. I'm just presenting the history as it is.
Well, there has to be a relevant point for you to bring up that history. So if your whole point was to say, hey, the Europeans colonized South America and they got a lot of riches through that, and that kind of helped them then colonize Africa later on, I mean, what does that have to do with modern day African migrants?
We went
sneaking
into
from South
the
America to
history,
North America?
the history of it. If I mean, we suddenly ended up on the history. If we go forward into modernity and what is happening in regards of the social, economic, political realities in Africa and how they differ from the ones in Central America or South America or the Caribbean, and then we talk about the impacts of what is making people migrate in such an irregular way, aka illegal,
What's making them migrate?
etc.
Their
Then
countries are backwards with a myriad of issues, and instead of fixing their issues, they flee. And they allow their countries to be dominated by a few corrupt elite. We know what their issues are. We can summarize their issue in a paragraph or less. So what? We can know their issue and ruminize over their issue and talk about their issue. It's their issue, and they're never going to fix their issue if they don't even want to stay in their continent.
and that's
Again,
what
let me
when
tie it
people
up
like
with
me
a
come
nice
in
bow.
and
Let
try
me
to say,
make this more relevant to all that we were talking about South America colonization versus African colonization. Once again, the South Americans got their colonization overturned. They gained their independence by staying and fighting, not by fleeing to the other side of the world. Ditso, what do you think would be the current condition of South America right now? Who do you think would be the controlling elite if the indigenous South Americans chose to flee to Europe?
obviously the Europeans would be. I mean,
Oh, so is it any surprise that the Africans choose to flee, and in return they have foreigners who control their resources and their government? If they're not controlled by the British, they're controlled by the French. If they're not controlled by the French, they're controlled by the Portuguese. If it's not the Portuguese, they're controlled by the Chinese. So damn, This is simple math. This is kindergarten type shit. If they stay and fight instead of flee, then they could fix their country. Oh, damn. It's not rocket science, but they don't care enough to fix their country. So they just flee because at least they can have a good life, or at least the second half of their life can be good. And their generations, going down a list of their lineal descendants, they'll be fine if they can flee over to Europe or flee to America. So again, African selfishness, African short sightedness, Africans not understanding what delayed gratification is. All African issues that North America, nor South America, or anybody else should have to fix other than Africans.
So, in that line of conversation, there's something of my history that fuels a lot of what I do here.
Let's talk about it. You said you're an Afro-Indigenous man, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with that said, I know you guys didn't really have a lot of documentation when it comes to the slave trade. I know you guys don't even have a lot of documentation or representation when it comes to indigenous communities. So you guys go by a right of self-determination. And for anybody who doesn't know what self-determination is, that basically means, hey, if me and my people, if our oral tradition tells us that we're of this tribe, that we're of this people, then we are, and nobody can take that away from us. They're not like North America where they have reservations and citizenship cards and all that kind of bullshit. They go by the right of self-determination. So when you say you're an Afro-Indigenous man, I've got to ask you, do you know what part of Africa you descend from, or are you through the right of self-determination linking yourself to Africa?
My DNA test that I did about 20 years ago showed that that I have partially origin of Western Africa, and then what is known in that thing as Amero-Indio, which I hate that term. I hate that term. But also original of Aboriginal or native population of Mesoamerica, especially southern Mesoamerica, which is a bit different from the northern side of Mesoamerica. That's why it's extremely interesting, because from that, I'm an adopted individual. I was adopted by a Costa Rican mother and a Venezuelan father, because my biological mother was living in poverty. She had 4 kids prior to me. She gave me, and then a year or 2 years afterwards, my sister to adoption. So it was extremely difficult to backtrack my family history here in Costa Rica. So when I was able to do so, I was able to then determine as near as possible the origins and everything that went back. I went to the libraries in Costa Rica, but then I had to go libraries to Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia. I had to go to Cuba.
Quick question. I know you said that they said you had West African DNA. Do you remember the percentage?
I'm at 30, 70, 30 African, 70% in, native indigenous. So,
and when you say you went to the libraries, you've done a lot of independent research.
Yeah.
Are you relying on your link to Africa? Are you relying on more so the DNA test as your proof, or more so the paper research that you've done in the libraries?
Mainly paper research.
And the only reason I ask that is because we know that DNA tests are basically for entertainment purposes only as far as ethnicity and tribal affiliation. Yeah. DNA tests can tell you who your daddy is, who your mama is, etc. Exactly. But it can't tell you you're 10% this, 30% this, 40% this. But I wouldn't be one to discredit your claims of Afro-indigeneity, because we do know that over 90% of the slaves went to South America, Brazil,
Central America,
the Caribbean, Central. Yeah, exactly. So it makes perfect sense for you to have African heritage. Yeah.
So just to give you that perspective, when I say Afro-Indigenous, I do recognize that mixture between the African slaves that were here and the indigenous people, because they were pretty much forced to live together. So things happen and lineages started happening. And at the same time, my position as somebody who has that heritage, I don't need to claim Africa. I'm not an African. What I am is I have the heritage of a descendant of somebody who was from Africa, brought here as a slave. But that does not make me African. That only makes me of that history of the Atlantic slave trade that was happening here. But genuinely, my sense is that I'm a Mesoamerican. I'm one of the indigenous. My blood runs.
Culturally, identity, in
Identity.
every other way, right?
There are elements where, yeah, the combination of indigenous and African cultures start happening,
Yeah.
and you develop something interestingly new. But
And
I
I
think
totally
that
understand where you're coming from because I have a German Irish grandmother. So technically, if we're going to theorize over percentages, you can say I maybe have 15 to 20% European in me, but guess what? I don't feel like I'm a German and American. I don't have any link to Germany or Irish culture other than what was passed down from my grandmother. So I do love me a hearty beef stew and some good old Irish slave food and some potatoes. But other than that, I'm culturally a native Black American. So in that same vein, you realize that you may have a certain genetic heritage, but culturally and through total ethnogenesis, you are different from continental Africans. Now I've got to ask you this, Ditso. When you've done your research, did you find that the Europeans snuck over to an African village and abducted some Africans, or did you find that there were slave traders that willingly captured other Africans and sold them to Europeans, resulting in how you got that African admixture?
majority of records were because of trade between Europeans and African tribes that were then giving those slaves for a price and shipping them out. So,
And this is something I can't wrap my brain around because as an American Indian, I recognize that some of our people did war with other tribes, and when we beat a tribe in a battle, we will forcefully, adopt them into our tribe. We even had little hazing rituals, very similar to modern day Black gang culture, where modern day in LA or something, you'd get jumped into the gang, right? North American Indians are the same thing. We would take them from longhouse to longhouse, from different tribal member to different tribal member, and each tribal member would beat their ass in a unique way. One person would slap him, they go to an old lady's tent, she'd pick out his hair, go someplace else, they're stabbing him with they would literally haze him and beat them and jump them in to the tribe. Or there was other ways where we would assimilate them into our culture. South Americans, you guys also war with one another. Some tribes, very few and far in between, but some even practice ritualistic cannibalism, took other tribes kind of as slaves or forcefully adopted them into their tribe. And guess what? If we look at every culture, every civilization across the world, they all have some form of indentured servitude, of taking over a people and forcefully assimilating them. But guess what? There's only one group of people that I have learned through history that have taken over their own fellow countrymen, whether they're from a different tribe or not. They're still on the same continent, right? They at least share that same link. The Africans are the only ones that will take these slaves and then export them to foreigners. I've never heard of South Americans taking another tribe, taking captives, and then selling them to the Chinese. I've never heard of North American Indians taking over another Mohawk tribe or something and then selling them to the Dutch. But them Africans, since time immemorial, since the 7th century Arab slave trade, they've made a business, a culture of selling fellow Africans to foreigners.
in fact, for example, this is something interesting. People don't know this. And it's funny that they don't know this because we have records that Columbus, as one of the first commercial activities he did, is he took 550 indigenous slaves of the Taino, and he went to sell them in the Mediterranean.
Basically in Europe, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
The Mediterranean, yeah, Europe. Parts of Europe. So
the earliest slave trade in the Americas was Columbus taking Taino South American Indians and sending them to Europe. Facts.
Natives. Can we kill the term Indians? I really hate the term Indian. It does not. To refer to native population of people who were here before the Europeans, to call them Indians is to continue recognizing a stupidity. We're not Indians. We're natives. We're people that were here. We're originals. or originarios, as in Spanish would say. And in
Yeah,
fact,
so I personally
before
use a lot of interchangeable words because, perfect example, you take offense to the word Indian and you prefer I use the word native. Well,
yeah,
guess what? There's Black Americans who hate that I use the term native and they prefer I use the term Niji or that I use the term indigenous. So, everybody kind of has their own quirks about different words. At least, if I can remember when speaking with you, I'll try to use something other than
yeah.
Indian. But I find that so many people, are very very caught up on one word over the other, and for just reasons sometimes.
And actually, this point, before I enter to this other conversation, I really want to mention it because I think it's extremely important. The classification and qualification utilized in Anglo-American world, in the one that speaks English mainly, is one of the most twisted and senseless forms of classifications I have seen in modernity. One drop rule is the most stupidest rule I've ever heard. Because, like we were talking before, look, the construction of one's identity has to do with what our parents and our grandparents and those who came before us gave us as part of that reality, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But in the same light as I mentioned, yeah, I mentioned I'm Afro-Indigenous. But why do I mention that? Because I recognize that part of me is because of that slavery. That does not make me African. It just makes me a descendant of slavery here in the Western Hemisphere. And
And if we
Indigenous
don't get caught
because
up in etymology, I could say, did so. How dare you use that word Afro? Afro comes from what? Afrikaan or Afrikanis, which is a British European label placed on the indigenous people of the continent we now call. See?
of course, if we want to use that other term, whatever. But the point being is that, for
I,
example,
I, I think the Africans claim that they refer to their landmass as Akibulan.
Akibulan, great. Well, then I'm an Akibulan descendant of somebody who was taken from their home either by other warring tribe and then sold to Europeans and brought here, and the mixture of indigenous that were here fighting.
Did so? Why doesn't this make you mad though? Did so? Why doesn't this make your blood boil? Why do I see you on Kaizo's channel vibing with the Africans, chilling with the Africans? Doesn't this make you mad? You got African heritage where your African ancestors were sold out by their fellow Africans to Europeans, sent over here to plantations to slave and starve and beg. And then modern day, the descendants of the slave drivers are fleeing through your country in mass illegally to get to mine. Shouldn't that make you upset? Did so? First they sell your ancestors, enslave your ancestors, and now those descendants of the slave drivers are fucking up your country because they fucked up theirs and they want to get to America.
So why get mad when I can contribute to fix, to do something, to change? And this is part of my heritage too. This individual, Pablo Presbere, was a revolutionary in the colonial period of Costa Rica, and good thing I was able to find it in English. But in 1610, a widespread indigenous rebellion led by various local leaders, including Guaycora, managed to drive out the colonialists, set fire to the city of Santiago de Talamanca, and expel the Spaniards from Talamanca. Nearly 100 years, and that's when Pablo Presbere comes in, Franciscan missionary friars, escorted by small groups of soldiers, penetrated Talamanca again and began establishing mission towns where scattered indigenous populations living along rivers and elsewhere were brought. The friars' intention was to civilize, and I quote that word, civilize, to the indigenous people. You know what our response was? Go fuck yourselves. You're going to die. Do not come back here. And that's exactly what happened. Because that's when Pablo Presbere came in and said, no, you ain't going to come here with your foreign religion, and we're going to kick your ass. And we did. And the reason we have that Talamanca region as an indigenous right now, very much protected, so in the reason is because of the actions that happened in 1709. in the territories of Talamanca Limon in September 1709.
I
Where
got you. I got you. Hey, I got to wrap up the broadcast. I actually have to get into a couple genealogy consultations here in the next 20 minutes. But why don't you provide us some closing remarks? We'll definitely do that collaboration stream now that my channel's off of probation, though.
Great. Well, Mike, I'm glad that even if we had headbutting at the beginning, that you and I can have a more in-depth conversation about history, realities, modernity.
Yes, guys. Ditso called me a white boy and said he was blacker than me, and I called him a tether conquistador. It was very contentious at one point in time. I called him a descendant of Cortez. No. I said Columbus was his uncle and his ancestors helped. No.
But
yeah, most definitely.
As something that happened, and when I received your email, I was happy because, like I told you in the response, the name I carry, Ditso, in the language of Bribri means seed. And the responsibility of someone who's a seed in our culture is to be put into the ground and give the start of something flowering, something growing. And in you and people who hear me, I do hope that I can continue fulfilling my duty as a seed that breaks those misconceptions and preconceptions of ill-advised categorizations that we need to break up and realize
that's right, because we all Americans, y'all. Look at this. This is all the continent of America, even down south. Okay, we all brothers and sisters of America. But you know what? Just like we are all Americans, these are all Africans. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Why is this America? Because this is all one connecting continent, one conjoined continent. Guess what this is? One connecting conjoined continent. From Africa, what we know as Africa connects to what they try to call the Middle East. This is Africa still. The Middle East connects to what you call Asia. This is Africa still, which connects to what you call Europe. This is Africa still, ladies and gentlemen. So y'all need to either start calling this Africa Major and Africa Minor, or call this all Europe. And this could be Europe, Asia, and Europe Minor, because this is some eugenic anthropological psyops that they got us over here acknowledging this as America, as the Americas, but they want to act like this isn't one landmass, that this isn't one entire landmass. Yes, you've got some islands over here, of course. You've got some islands, just like we have some islands, and we still call that part of the Americas. But why are they over here acting like they're all completely different, distinct, separate people when y'all all right next door to and connected to Africa? Hey, have you ever heard of any Afro indigenous Europeans?
With European descendancy?
Yeah, have you heard of any indigenous native Europeans that were African?
Rarely. The most I hear them claiming that is in
that's the point.
Yeah.
Rarely. But if we look at any other landmass on Earth, we know that the indigenous people were melanated. But we're supposed to believe that Europe, which is right next to Africa, which is right so close to Africa, Europe doesn't have any indigenous melanated people. Europe is the only place that just white people popped up out of nowhere.
Especially those areas surrounding the Mediterranean. But anyhow, I digress.
It don't make no sense. Kaizo, or excuse me, I called you Kaizo. Ditso. Me and you have to team up like Starsky and Hutch, and we have to go through the records and we have to figure out where these white folks came from. Some say that a big-headed scientist named Yakub built them in the laboratory in the Caucasus Mountains. I don't believe all that, but somewhere the origin of these Europeans has been kept a secret. The Chinese have been coming clean about their origin. They say their first dynasties were Africans, their ancestors were Africans. Some of the Middle Easterns and the Indians have come forth and been like, yeah, we know that we descend from Africa, but something had to happen in Europe, an ethnic cleansing of sorts. Something happened to where they expelled all their indigenous melanated population and then somehow gained control and started to dominate the world, y'all.
So
world domination.
In that sense, let me conclude. with two expressions. One, the typical Costa Rican, pura vida, pure life, and the one from my people, Bribri, ekele, beshko boblaba, which means walk with your eyes open. That's how we say goodbye, or see you later.
All right, dude. So talk to you soon, brother.
Talk
I'll
to you
shoot you an
soon.
email. Peace. Yeah, y'all. I'm telling you, cue the X-Files themes. I am going to find out, guys. I want to believe. What is going on? What is the origin of these Europeans? Guys, if there was ever aliens, I think they'd be European. Wait, these motherfuckers just need baked beans and bread to sustain them? What? Wait, they can't be in the sun's rays without burning and dying? What? Oh, I mean, God, if there's indigenous melanated folks everywhere, except this place, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I need to pull up a a topographical map, and maybe there was like a crater that hit somewhere, and like the aliens landed in Europe. I don't fucking know, guys. But something strange is going on. Come on, y'all. I want to believe. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the new channels. Most of my indigenous content is going to be over on my new channel, Native Black American Journals. Actually, let me go ahead and highlight that real quick. This is the new home for all of my indigenous related content, Native Black American Journals. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. If you guys want to check out my African related content, we're going to start putting that on the Diaspora Wars channel, which you can check out right here. Let me go ahead and put the Diaspora Wars link in the chat as well. So that's where that content's going to be. And then all of the highlights and the clips from my live streams on the Mike TV channel, I'm going to start putting them on this other channel, Mike TV King of Receipts. We're going to start putting, 20-minute, 30-minute, 40-minute highlights and clips from the live streams. We're going to start putting them over there so you guys can catch up on some great live streams you may have missed. So make sure to sub to the King of Receipts channel as well. But thank you guys for showing up and showing out. As always, I will be live Monday, and I'll see you then. Stay vigilant. Peace out.